Dontaesboxingnation, what's going on, guys? Man, I'm telling you guys something right now. You really need to pay attention to what's going on in the sport of boxing right now. It's pretty unprecedented. Boxing has always been a racially biased sport since the inception. From the time that Jack Johnson became the first black heavyweight champion of the world, to the heavyweight champion Larry Holmes being introduced first when he was fighting challenger Jerry Cooney, to ESPN not once but twice displaying Vasyl Lomachenko's record on air as an undefeated record, to HBO's Larry Merchant deciding to interview Victor Ortiz first when he was supposed to interview Floyd Mayweather after Floyd beat him. And guys, those were just small examples off the dome. But now we go into more recent examples, which is what's happening to Shakur Stevenson. So this past weekend, after Jamel Herring, he beats Carl Frampton in a fight where Shakur Stevenson was basically supposed to be the mandatory to fight the winner of that fight. ESPN, they put up their own list of the top 10 junior lightweights in the world, and they don't even include Shakur Stevenson's name on the list, knowing that he's supposed to be fighting the winner of this fight. Now, Jamel Herring, he's already trying to avoid Shakur Stevenson. He already said that he wants to fight Oscar Valdez next, and if he doesn't get Oscar Valdez, he's moving up in weight, when he knows he's supposed to be fighting Shakur Stevenson. He's basically doing the same thing that Oscar Valdez did when he was at 126 and was ordered to fight Shakur Stevenson. But this situation is much bigger than Jamel Herring. This is more about what Top Rank and ESPN just did. That's right, I include Top Rank because if you look at the graphic I had on the screen, it says Top Rank ESPN's top 10 junior lightweights. So they're letting you know that Top Rank and ESPN is responsible for that list that they put up on ESPN, on the broadcast that is. Now, the fact that ESPN, they have Shakur listed on their top 10 when it comes to their website is further proof they did this intentionally. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. There's not that much incompetence in the world. Remember, this is the same network that not once but twice listed Lomachenko as undefeated. The first time they did it, they just had him as undefeated, as a zero right there. The second time they did it, they had him as undefeated with a draw, which he doesn't have a draw. So with that being said, let me go ahead and reveal ESPN's strategy. Guys, ESPN is not as dumb as they pretend to be. They know exactly what they're doing. None of this, once again, is by mistake. You see, because ESPN, they realize that Shakur Stevenson is the most dangerous fighter on the coincidental list that fights on ESPN next to Terrence Crawford. They know that if Shakur Stevenson gets his hands on Jamel Herring, he's going to most likely beat Jamel. And once he beats Jamel, that's going to put an enormous amount of pressure on Oscar Valdez and Jojo Diaz to fight Shakur Stevenson. You see, guys, when I told you to pay attention to what's going on right now, if you notice here in America, outside of boxing, when it comes to politics, if white Republicans feel that the quote-unquote wrong guy is going to win, then you know what they do? They pass bills to suppress the vote. Basically, if we can't win with votes, then we will stop people from voting, stop certain people, people of color, mainly black people. Once we stop them from voting, then we definitely will win, or we have a much better chance of winning. So if you can't beat them, you simply stop them from voting. In the sport of boxing, it's pretty much the same way. They feel when it comes to black fighters, if we can't beat them, we will just block them from even getting the fights. That way, there's no way they can win if they don't have an opportunity to fight, right? See, guys, what's happening to Shakur Stevenson right now, it all stems from Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather came along, he completely dominated boxing for over a decade. And when it comes to old media, mainly white people, and when I say old media, I'm talking about boxing writers for big websites. I'm talking about color analysts, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not just talking about the decals on the internet. So when it comes to old media, people like Jim Lampley and the gang, you remember Jim Lampley and many other people, they used to always say when Floyd Mayweather was on top, you would always hear them saying, I can't wait for him to retire. They couldn't wait for that era to be over because they couldn't stand the fact that it was a black fighter that was completely dominating the sport of boxing, who was truly the Michael Jordan of boxing. So now that Floyd Mayweather is gone, these analysts, old media, they're doing everything they can possibly do to try to prevent us from seeing another Floyd Mayweather. And another Floyd Mayweather has nothing to do with his personality. It just means someone that looks like Floyd Mayweather. And Shakur Stevenson looks a lot like Floyd Mayweather. From his skin complexion to his skills in the ring, his high boxing IQ. Shakur Stevenson, if I'm not mistaken, gets hit less than Floyd Mayweather does. He's just as accurate as Floyd Mayweather was. Shakur is definitely the closest thing to Floyd Mayweather statistically as we speak. Although as the competition gets better, those statistics, those numbers may actually change when it comes to Shakur's defense. So there it is though. They are trying to protect all of the non-black fighters that they really, really like from all of the most dangerous black fighters. Old media has helped protect Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin from Charlo and Andrade. Old media, they definitely protected Golovkin from Andre Ward. They're protecting Teofimo Lopez from Devin Haney. And here's ESPN completely excluding Shakur Stevenson from their own top 10 junior lightweight list because they know that a lot of people are going to watch and they don't want to have to explain the fact that Shakur Stevenson is in line to fight the winner, which, like I said, will eventually end up with him fighting or putting more pressure on Oscar Valdez or Jojo Diaz to take the fight. It's really a sad situation when you're on that coincidental list. It is truly a gift and a curse. The gift that you were born with, it turns into a curse. And this is the reason why black fighters often have to move up in weight, put themselves at a disadvantage just to finally get a type of fight that they deserve to get. A lot of people don't know this, but when Floyd Mayweather fought Oscar De La Hoya, he was at a complete disadvantage. Floyd had just moved up to 147. And Oscar De La Hoya, he decided to have the fight at 154 to try to get the biggest weight advantage over Floyd Mayweather. Oscar De La Hoya, he chose the gloves that Floyd had to wear. He chose the ring size. He chose everything, the weight class. And Floyd Mayweather still beat him with all of those disadvantages because Oscar De La Hoya was much bigger than Floyd Mayweather the night of the fight. So once again, this is what a lot of black fighters have to do nowadays. We've seen it with Andre Ward. Andre Ward was calling out Gennady Golovkin because Golovkin said, I'll fight anyone from 154 to 168. So Ward called his bluff. Remember, at the time, Andre Ward was pound for pound number one, the best fighter in the world. Now, you would think that if Golovkin truly thought that he was the best, he would be chasing Andre Ward. You know, he said he wants to fight at 168. Well, the best fighter in the world is at 168. But that's not how it played out. Turned out Gennady Golovkin wanted to stay far, far away from Andre Ward. So what they end up doing to protect Gennady Golovkin, HBO that is, they decided to offer Andre Ward a 3-fight deal to move up in weight and fight a much bigger, at the time, possibly more dangerous, Sergey Kovalev. Who, guys, I know a lot of you guys don't remember this, but some boxing websites actually had Kovalev as pound for pound number one before Andre Ward fought him. Then you have the situation with Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, where they're pretty much being forced to move up in weight and find some challenges, find some real top elite fighters that are willing to get in the ring with them. Now, there's no doubt about it. Now, Demetrius Andrade, he definitely has been pushing for the Charlo fight. But of course, I'm talking about the Gennady Golovkins and the Canelo Alvarezes. Those guys, they wanted no smoke at all with Andrade and Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo and his brother, they've been chasing Canelo for over 6 years. And now, once again, both Charlo and Andrade, they're talking about moving up to 168 to possibly find a challenge. Even Shakur Stevenson just said he's willing to move up to 140 or 147 if he has to. This is what old media is forcing fighters on the coincidental list to do. You know, I'll close out with saying this. Shakur Stevenson, he likes to follow the old media narrative. He says that Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter pound for pound. And I thought that was pretty interesting because, first of all, Shakur Stevenson and Terrence Crawford, they're like really close. And I'm not saying that you should alter who the best fighter is on your list just because you're close, but it's really shocking to me when it could easily be proven that Crawford is pound for pound the best fighter over someone like Canelo Alvarez, who's on his European tour and refuses to fight any undefeated black fighters or undefeated Mexican fighters. I keep telling you guys, I don't care how many people try to say it, there is absolutely no way you could be considered the best fighter in the world when you're telling people you're not fighting Mexican fighters or you're not fighting any undefeated black fighters. And on top of that, Canelo Alvarez has also said he didn't want to fight Demetrius Andrade because he doesn't like his style. Just think about that for a second, guys. How can you be considered the best when you, by your own admission, you're telling fans that you don't like to fight certain styles? In order for you to be pound for pound the best fighter in the world, you're supposed to be able to beat every single style that exists. That's what being pound for pound is about. Pound for pound is not about you just dominating guys that you know are easy to hit and you can knock out. You like Caleb Smith style. You like Avni Yildirim style. You like Rocky Fielding style, but you don't like Demetrius Andrade style? And this is who people, or some people, are saying is pound for pound over Crawford? It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. But anyway, going back to Shakur Stevenson. So Shakur likes to entertain the fact that Canelo is pound for pound the best fighter in the world because, once again, the majority of fans, which are non-black fans, of course they're going to say this. But what Shakur really needs to understand is the same people that he's following and he's deferring to when he says that Canelo is pound for pound, those type of fans have zero respect for Shakur Stevenson. And if Shakur Stevenson was in Canelo Alvarez's division, these fans would hate Shakur Stevenson just because he's a possible threat of beating Canelo Alvarez. Just like they didn't start hating Jermall Charlo or Demetrius Andrade. These fans didn't start calling them bums until they started to call out Canelo Alvarez. And this is the same thing that would happen to Shakur Stevenson if he was a threat to Canelo Alvarez. I know, once again, these black fighters, they don't pay attention to the racial double standards, and it's time that they do. You really need to pay attention to what's going on, because I'm telling you right now, old media, they have a hell of a plan right now to completely make all of the most dangerous black fighters as irrelevant as possible. And boxers like Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney and everyone else, they need to keep exposing this racial segregation in the sport of boxing. But at the end of the day, all these black fighters can do is the same thing Floyd Mayweather did. Keep winning. You keep winning till you become more and more relevant to where these fighters that are avoiding you are forced to take a fight against you. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Decay Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to lodecay.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. So to get this hookup, make sure you follow and contact my man ScalpCarolinas on Instagram. Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. So to get this hookup, make sure you follow and contact my man ScalpCarolinas on Instagram.